It's normal for us as guys to leak sexual energy, to misuse it. In some cultures, it's actually weird if you don't, I got something stuck in my mouth, if you don't cheat, where it's actually thought of you're less as a man, if you don't honor your animal desire. Now, granted, to be fair, for us to have sex as men, it actually takes effort. A woman, kind of semi-regardless of what they look like, can go out and go to a bar and have sex tonight. A guy has to have status, has to work for it, have money, provide value, be funny, be smart, be attractive, which isn't that important actually. Like physical attraction is different for men and women and how we look at mating strategies and procreation. But as guys, we have this super powerful energy. And it starts when we're a teenager and it makes us crazy because we have, some people say up to 30 times the amount of testosterone that we did just a couple years before. And what I've found, it can be almost common for guys to just fall into addiction. Sex addiction is a common one. But a lot of us, I know myself in the past, I never would have said I had a sex addiction problem. I just realized I got to a point where I was using drugs and alcohol and sex, and it wasn't good. Would I have said I have an addiction? No, but I just said it's not going well. If you're a guy and your relationship to sexuality and your sexual energy feels like it has many different focuses, many different women. If you have Miami-itis or Medellin-itis, ask me how I know. I'm moving to the States in a few months, been in Medellin almost a decade, so my first few years I definitely had Medellin-itis. Playing the field, sleeping around, telling the truth, which is kind of rare, sex clubs, open relationships, all kinds of stuff. And it's interesting as guys how I believe we're actually searching for something. And we can be on this kind of sexual exploratory phase. And then you've also done your inner work. You've done some personal development. Think of this for a second. Imagine something that you're not aware of, or you're kind of aware of. It's like a negative 100,000 units of energy. It's just been operating in the background for years, decades. I'll share about mine in a moment. And that's just like pulling at you. But it's been there for 30 years. So it feels like it felt 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's kind of like it just, sometimes feeling a little weird or whatever. You read a book, 50 points of energy, moves up. You listen to a really good podcast, 75 points of energy. You have a great coaching session, maybe 300, maybe 500 energy, move up. You do a retreat, a seminar, an ayahuasca retreat, it blows your mind, you move 1,000 units of energy. You can do, and I've done this in the past years, so much personal development, so much inner work, so many retreats, medicines. For me, I spent $750,000 in 16 years on personal development. Quite a bit, probably more. That's what I've roughly equated it. Spiritual stuff, personal development, coaches, retreats, seminars, plant medicine, a bunch of biohacking stuff, but yeah, at least $750K. What I realized on that journey is I would do all these things that were plus 100, plus 500, plus 1,000. And I found this in my own life from years in the past, and other guys I've worked with, we just have this thing that's just sucking our energy. And sometimes it's not just being sexually compulsive, even though that can be a big one. It's funny, it's ironic kind of how a lot of modern day personal development, it's starting to change. It's always, what do you want now? Where are we gonna go, right? And then therapy can be the other extreme where it's like, hey, this thing happened when you were 7. We need to talk about that every Tuesday at 2 p.m. for the next 25 years. You're like, all right, One's way too past focused. One might be too much, but it's at least moving somewhere you're gonna go, the future, or the new present, we'll call it. But it's moving towards the future, but they can feel a bit out of balance. So on our journey, especially as guys that are building, we need to know where we're at now and where we want to go. But we can have these negative 100,000 things from our past that are just sucking the life out of us. And it's an interesting thing because you don't really know it's there until it's gone. I remember one of my first really big one of these was in 2019, so 7 years ago. So doing all this stuff, all this inner work, and I was like, wait a minute, I think I'm different. I was like, next day, I think I'm different. I don't think this is gonna go away. A lot of addiction for guys, or a lot of, call it, I don't know about you, I've been addicted to a lot of shit in the past. I never would have used those words. I would have said I'm compulsive, these things aren't working. I would have just said, I say that, I'm just really fucking passionate. So if you're gonna drink or do drugs or do something, you might as well passionately do it. That was how I used to describe it, trying to justify it. Maybe you can relate. But a lot of these things are craving for adventure, for wildness. For some people, it can be guys that have had things that they've tried to push down from their childhood, so they're constantly doing dangerous shit or traveling the world, or they're in 17 countries in 10 days somehow. And what if there's something we're just trying to silence inside of us? Something that's just off, something that hurts, something that this shame comes up, this voice where we're, judging ourselves, or it shouldn't be this way, or man, gets magnified even more in a relationship of, I hope she doesn't leave, I hope she doesn't see me this way. And it really comes down just to the relationship with yourself, but there's many layers to that. It's not like, I'm in shape, I have a good car, I have a house, I have a good relationship myself. That's a part of it. Sometimes the guys that achieve the most, that have the coolest cars, that have the Rolex or the Richard Mille or the Lambo, the penthouse, they can have the most to hide. And they know it. They're not gonna talk about it. They will in private eventually when they realize it's time to change. Because this shame that's sitting underneath us, it's kind of a paradox. You can see someone, you can take two brothers from the same family, and for whatever reason, how they grew up, they both had a lot of shame. And one brother can be, maybe he just works a dead-end job, and he comes home and he just needs to release that pain, release that shame, and he just smokes weed, plays video games, watches Netflix, maybe orders a pizza, and that's just life. Make enough to get by, but you never really move the needle forward. His other brother, with similar shame pattern, can achieve more than anyone in the family has achieved. Have more money, have more success, have more women. One woman's not enough. You gotta have all of them. You gotta have an open relationship, or just open for you. Until a guy starts realizing something inside of him is hurting, even if he doesn't tell anyone. And that can be the hardest part. Guys, we don't know who to go to. When guys are finally at a point where they want to handle something, a lot of times they want it done discreetly because there's shame about the shame. There's, hey, I want a different life. I want a wife. I want a family. Why do I still have these problems? I'm successful, but I start looking at, is this freedom really free? Am I building legacy through this illusion of freedom? Through boy freedom? And then they start getting poked at because they're getting a wake-up call for some man freedom. A level of freedom through responsibility, through really embracing who they are, not the impulses of the moment. I was writing this on my journal recently, and I was reading it today. I thought it was kind of funny. I changed colors. I got like a halo now. By following our balls, or just our animal desire, we actually lose our masculinity, our power, or our balls in the process. It's kind of a paradox, isn't it? You heard what I just said? So by following our raw sexual desire unchecked, we lose our real sexual power as men. It gets scattered to multiple women, gets scattered to porn, to the next adventure, the next thing. By chasing the illusion of freedom and power, we lose our power. But like I said, maybe not you can't relate, but other guys, we don't do something about it until we kind of have a light bulb goes off. We realize it's really, really, really not working. And there's something in us that doesn't make sense to our head of getting laid, something in our heart, our soul, maybe both, whatever you want to call it, something deeper in you that knows. And you have that wake-up call and realize you got to do something about it. And the interesting thing is, this could last a couple months. This could last a couple years. And it can be really healthy for men to spend some time in this transition period before they really decide to tap into their full power. Which kind of fucks with their ego, because they're like, I've made this money, I'm successful, tap into my full power. Like, don't you know who I am, you prick? Yeah. If that's starting to come up, you're right on target. But before they start, just tap into their full power. And it can become kind of scary, but there's this clarity of knowing that they're made for something more. And that's not something anyone can give you. It's just something you start to know. And it starts to create the knowingness, almost like a beautiful, horrible pain. Because when you know there's something more that you're called to be, to do, to experience, to have, and you're not going after it, and you're going after what used to work, even though it still kind of seems like it does, it actually hurts by not following the thing you're supposed to follow. By really listening to your heart, not just the desires of the animal self. And it's important that the animal self is taken care of. If it's just leading the way and running amok with, I guess it would be like a pimped out Toyota in Medellin. It would be like a Lamborghini or a McLaren that's really weird colors, maybe a Rolls in Miami or something like that. Until the pain has become enough, or it's at least starting, then there's a time when we have to do something about it. Or we can get stuck in this place, Medellin-itis, Miami-itis, oh man, with TRT, with peptides, with a personal trainer, whoo, bro, we can get stuck for decades. That's what's coming in the future. Decades of playing the field. So figure out what to do. Thanks for checking in. A deeper part of you already knows what to do. See you soon.